according to your evidence, because of those dockets that Mkhano had.
No, my lord. So the accused was released insofar as the matters that he was detained for. What then transpired after he was released, you can call it an interview, and it happens all the time, my lord. For example, people get involved in accident-related matters. They could call to the police station as suspect when they know very well that perhaps you may have been negligent. They will take a warning statement. That is an interview. You will be released. It doesn't mean that when you are interviewed on a specific matter, while you are with the police during that period, you can call it detention because you are with the police, but there's still a decision that the police, if the time when the second date kicked in, it was an interview on various matters and the cooperation that accused to was giving. It wasn't a detention, because if it was a detention, then charges would have been set to him what he's being detained for and would have been processed accordingly. It was a continuation of interview that started while he was in detention, because when I was following, my lord, an alibi that he gave us on the 18th, which said he was at work, that was part of the interview. It was not a detention. When I was with him, we went to his work. He was not in detention for this matter. It was an interview. We followed that alibi. It didn't materialize. So it was a continuation of interviews insofar as the hoodie and whatever the Sergeant Mokhane was following, my lord.
Ngemva kokuthi ummangalelwa lamacala lawa yanangafakwa enkantolo yena uye wakhululwa kodwa ubekade esahlonywa imibuzo. Kuyaye kuyenzeke umzekelo nawo ukuthi umuntu uma engaba kwingozi yemoto, lo muntu lo uyayabizwe ahlonywe imibuzo ukubheka ukuthi bekubani obekade enze iphutha, nalokho mhlawumbe lo munye uyena obekade ebudedengu. Kodwa ke ummangalelwa naye wesibini ubekade ekhuluma esebenzisana nathi njengoba wayekade ebuzwa imibuzo, kube wayekade engabaza kula ukuthi ubekade ezokuthweswa amacala ukuthi leliphi icala ekuthi usowuthweswa lona ke sesikuvalela ngenxa yaleli cala, kodwa ngenxa yokuthi wayekade esebenzisana nathi ekhuluma uma silibele simbuza imibuzo, kungakho siye sambuza leyo mibuzo kwathatha naleso sikhathi. Kodwa ngaleso sikhathi wayekade engakavalelwa, wayekade nje ebuzwa imibuzo, ngakho kugcine sekuthi kuvela naleliyana lasephukeni.
When it comes to interviewing a suspect, taking you back to the alibi that we had to follow up on, was there anything recorded, especially from the 18 when you interviewed accused number 2? Did you record the rights that you have explained to accused number 2? Did you record the conversation between you and accused, or any kind of admission?
My lord, I did make entries on my diary. I might not obviously, because it's a diary, you summarize, and the copies which have been made to the defense is very clear of what was followed, and the fact that he made confessions, my lord. And I gave the defense the copy of the diary of the 18th.
Bukhona la ukuthi kuye kwabhalwa khona noma kwayenzwa into ekuthi ibekade izobonisa ukuthi ubukade ukhuluma nommangalelwa wesibini uthi yebo ngabhala kwi-diary yami, nangokho ngabhalanga yonke imininingwane ngenxa yokuthi kwi-diary uyaye ubhale nje into encanyana ukuthi kwenzakeleni, futhi leyo diary ibanikile abameli.
All right. Accused now is released from Phosphorus Court. He is now conveyed to Rustenburg. You said it was not your instruction to take him to Rustenburg.
I'm saying, my lord, I was aware. So if the position I was sitting in, I'm a commander. So obviously I didn't say they mustn't do it, because I believed what they were embarking on was a legitimate follow-up or work-related issues. I was aware they were going there to follow up on what Sergeant Mokhane had insofar as the other investigations, and in addition, then the issue of the hoodie came up. That is why I had interest. My interest was simply on the hoodie because it relates to this matter. The other matter, Sergeant Mokhane, is something that you could deal with.
Nganginolwazi ukuthi ummangalelwa kwamele athathwe ayiswe ephukeni, ngenxa yokuthi mina ngingumphathi ngiyengabona nokuthi bebakade bayenza into ehambelana nomsebenzi, futhi uSergeant Mokhane wayekade enamanye amacala awaphinyayo, kodwa kuye kwavela nalolu daba lwehudi. Ingakho ngiye ngathi ngabona ukuthi bekulungile ukuthi baqhubeke ngalokho ngoba bebakade baqhubeka ngomsebenzi wabo.
So when you Sergeant Mkhani proceeded, and which came to your knowledge that they went to Rustenburg, was there any warrant of search that was applied for?
No, there was no warrant of search, my lord, that was applied for.
Manje ukuya kwabo ephukeni baye bafaka isicelo sencwadi egunyazayo ukuthi bayokhuthuza endaweni ethize uthi cha beyingekho leyo ncwadi leyo akuzange kufake nesicelo sinje.
So you wouldn't be surprised why accused number 2 was acquitted at Tlhabane court due to the fact that there was no warrant of search, among other reasons why he had to be acquitted, among other reasons.
Yeah, my lord, so no one knew that in his residence, insofar as I know, because I was there, although I didn't go inside, the local police and my investigation team went inside. We didn't go there to look for ammunition. No one knew that ammunition would be found. It just so happened that when they were looking for the wood, then ammunition were found. And in that matter, in booking, that's why I didn't testify. I didn't submit a statement as well. So I don't know what reasons were given to make the court come to that decision. But yes, it was acquitted. I think that's justice. You have to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. But I was not there. I was not part of those proceedings.
Tumeli ke yisona isizathu esenza ukuthi umangalelwa aye watholwa engenacala kulela cala lase ke uthi ke ubrigadier mina angizange ngingene phakathi njengoba bekade ukukhuthuzwa kuye kwangena amaphoyisa wakhona laphayana na lethimba lami ebengikade ngihamba nalo mina futhi angenzanga istatement nangalesikhathi siya besingazi ukuthi kuzotholakala inhlamvu thina empeleni besithi siyofuna le yahudi angazi ukuthi eziphi izathu einkantolo yaphana ngazo ukuthi umangalelwa ukhululwa ngenxa yazo.
So as we speak, this is what I also put to Sergeant Mkhani. As we speak, accused number 2 is facing this charge of murder under 636. That's the only matter against him at the moment.
Well, when we say this is perhaps the right context, my lord, it's the only matter that has been enrolled. But if you ask, is the only investigation that is facing, there are numerous of them, my lord. But yes, the only matter that is on the court roll, it is this matter.
Njengoba sikhuluma kwamanje umangalelo wesibini yena ubhekane nalecala lodwa elika 636 leli lokubulala uthi ubrigadier njengoba sisakhuluma kwamanje yilona lodwa elisafakwe enkantolo kodwa akhona amanye amacala ayikuthi kwamele asazofakwa enkantolo noma asapheli.
All right, let's get into the confessions part of my questions. Have you taken a confession before?
Oh yes, I have, my lord.
Wena usuke brigadier wathatha istatement lesi umuntu ekhuluma egumuluka uthi yebo.
Did you obtain a special training? Did you undergo a particular training relating to the taking of a confession?
Yes, especially the police training you undergo that, my lord, did explain. But I've also learned that at university, when you study law and law-related issues of confessions and so forth, it's covered there, my lord. That's evidence. It's part of the legal studies, my lord.
Uye waqeqeshwa na uthi yebo njengephoyisa siyaye siqeqeshwe futhi mina ngafunda lokho njengoba ngifunda umthetho uma umuntu efunda ezomthetho uyaye aqeqeshwe nangayo le ndaba leyo ukuthi kubhalwa kanjani noma umuntu umbona kanjani uma ikuthi uyagona.
This question that I'm going to ask relates to accused number 1 and number 2 about the requirements or the process or the procedure of taking a confession. When you're taking, like as the lead investigator in the Senzo Meyiwa case, all right, it comes to your attention that accused number 1 or accused number 2 wants to make a confession. Was it the right step to phone Boto or to yes, you said you looked for somebody independent to take a confession. ultimately you got Mboto who took a confession.
So the question is, was it
The
the
question
right thing?
is it the right procedure that Mboto was supposed to take a confession after he had a discussion with you?
Yeah, my lord, I'll start with the last part, the discussion. The discussion between myself and Colonel Mboto was not about the merits of the case. It was a request to say, can you assist in taking the confession, not discussing the matters of the case. That is why I indicated that he was independent because he did not work on this case. We never shared this information. It was someone independent. So that's my answer to the last part. But going to the first part of the question, my lord, yes, it is procedural, my lord, that when confessions, if you are involved in the matter, it is more reliable. It's a best practice, my lord, that you try and find someone independent to actually document that confession. Because, for example, I was a commission officer even then, but if I take it, you know the merits of the case, it's not neat. I think it's just a way, it's a best practice that is suggested that someone independent should be the one taking the confession. But obviously the sparking point or the starting point starts with me, because before you call this person, you have to certify yourself that the person you are interviewing is willing to freely, voluntarily, and without any undue influence to make such confessions, my lord, and is aware of his rights. Then you move on to the independent person.
Le mibuzo elandelayo ngibuza ngaye ummangalelo wokuqala nowesibili, isikhulukazi lolu daba lokuthi nina benithi bayazithula kunezinto ebekade bezikhuluma. Manje umbuzo wokuqala ukuthi uthathe indlela elungile na yokuthi uze ushayele uKennel ukuze akube uyena oyikuthi ozothatha lezo statement. Uthi yebo, mina ngibona ukuthi ngithathe indlela elungile ngoba uKennel wayekade engasebenzi kulecala, futhi asizange sikhulume ngemininingwane yalecala, futhi yena wayekade engazi lutho ngalecala, bekuwumuntu ozimele phecelezi independent, la ukuthi vele kwamele kube umuntu ongazi lutho ngecala. Into yesibini, mina angizange ngaxoxa noma ngakhuluma naye uKennel ngalolu daba ukuthi nayi into engicela ukuthi uyiyenze ukuthi lo muntu uzothi ethi asizange saxoxa lokho.
According to your evidence, I doubt that you did not disclose the merits of the... I'll demonstrate why I'm saying that. I doubt that you did not discuss the merits of the case with Mboto. The reason being that, based on the question that I asked you, was Mboto a commissioned officer in terms of the procedure, being an independent person, qualified to take a confession from Mr. Spear? That's the question I'm asking. Was he not supposed to appoint another person?
No, I disagree. I totally disagree, my lord.
Yes.
So the last part, no, I did not, and I maintain that position. I did not discuss this case and what accused two intended to say. That's unethical. I wouldn't do that, my lord. I didn't do it. Secondly, Colonel Mboto, then he was a colonel. A colonel is a commissioned officer. And Section 217 is very clear, my lord. He's a justice of the peace. He's a commissioned officer, and by the virtue of his position as justice of the peace, he is allowed to take confessions.
uKennel Mboto wakade kuumuntu onelungelo na lokuthatha lesi statement besikade sizokhuluma ummangalelo wokuqala uthi yebo, ngoba yena wakade kuyi-commission eyikuthi uma umuntu kuuKennel uyanikwa nalawo malungelo wokuthi angahle athathe inkulumo ezifana nalezo. Into yesibili, uthi ubrigadier yena uyaphinda futhi uyafunga uyagomela ukuthi akazange akhulume noKennel ngalolu daba ukuthi ummangalelwa uzokhuluma nalo udaba oluthize.
My lord, sorry, Council. My lord, commissioned officers in the SAPS rank structure start at the rank of a captain. That's the first rank. Then you get majors, then you get lieutenant colonel, now you don't get majors, then you get the colonel, the rank of Colonel Mboto, who is a middle manager. He's part of the, the senior management at that level. So he's quite someone quite senior in the police, but he is regarded as a commissioned officer.
Manje ke umuntu oyikuthi ubizwa i-commissioned officer esikhwayiseni umuntu oyikuthi uqala ku-captain bese ngalesa sikhathi esidlulile bekunabo major bese uthola lo okuyi-position eyaka-colonel. La ukuthi u-colonel wayekade enalo igunya lokuthi angathatha leso statement.
I understand. I'm glad you mentioned and you explained what is the justice of the peace and the quality or the credentials that Colonel Mboto had in taking a confession. But I'll still maintain that he was not a candidate, not in terms of the credentials, in terms of the procedure. Before you proceed on that answer, is it fair for me to proceed on another question relating to what you were saying about Section 217?
Yeah, but before, my lord, let me answer the part that the council has raised to me. I disagree. Colonel Mboto, the only criteria he needs to meet is that he must be an officer. He was a colonel, far past the rank of a captain. He was a colonel, and as a result, by the virtue of that rank, it allows him to take a confession. That's all you need to prove them. And you simply have to be an officer. Automatically, you are then allowed to take the confessions, any confession.
Into eyikuthi umuntu uyayidinga ukuze akwazi ukuthatha istatement salomuntu ogunyulukayo ukuthi umuntu kwamele abe uKenneth la ukuthi bese sekudala uKenneth edlulile kubukapteni manje yena wayekade enalo igunya lokuthi angahle alalele aphinda thatha statement esifana naso lesi.
So in relation to Section 217, my lord, I'm not sure if it will be prudent to ask about the interpretation of the provision to this witness because he seems to be knowledgeable about the law. If the court is
are you disputing that Colonel Mboto is not authorized?
I'm not disputing that.
So this exercise is about what? Because why I'm asking this, Ramo CPD never queried the credentials of Mboto.
My lord, I'm not querying the credentials.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm saying Mboto in terms of the procedure. After he received an information from Colonel Brigadier Gininda that somebody wants to make a confession, he was not supposed to take a confession. That's what I'm saying. Colonel Mboto, according to the procedure, was supposed to get an independent somebody who was going to meet with the person who wants to take a confession independently without knowing the because.
So wait. If I understand you well, this gentleman, Brigadier, you are entitled to take confessions. Is that not so?
That is so, my lord.
Right, but because you personally, as I was listening to you, but because you are personally seized with this matter, you wanted an independent.
Correct, my lord.
I may just mention that there's nothing debarring the law from you to take that confession.
Yes, my lord.
You know that.
I know that.
It's just best practice and it's advisable. The case, it's a Natal case, Kruger.
Yes.
The judge was I'll remember the judge. So, best practice says, give it to another person.
Yes, my lord.
And now you give it to a colonel.
Correct, my lord.
Now, the supposition or the assumption or the assertion by Mr. Gomezu is Mboto must get another commissioner.
That's correct.
Is that the procedure, sir?
No, that's absolutely.
Or the law? Is it the law also?
It's not the law.
Okay.
It's not the law, and it's not even the procedure that is being followed, my lord. He's a commissioned officer. He's independent, and then he agreed to assist, my lord. I have taken confessions. I've been approached before, and it's the same principle. If I don't have any knowledge on the matter, and then I'll assist, my lord.
Firstly, I'll disagree with the court and the witness. on the basis that Brigadier Kininda, his credentials, yes, he can take a confession. But if he is a person of interest, he cannot take a
How is
confession.
he a person of interest? I'm quoting you a SCA case.
My lord,
I used that case about 20 years back. And it's still the law. Okay, we can differ about that. It's still the law.
I'll
It's
make
just that
submissions.
it is advisable and best practice. There's best practice that because you assist with the matter, you must not take the confession. But there's no
Correct.
law disbarring you. But we can argue about that until it.com.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. May I proceed?
Yes.
Yes. In relation to text, section 217, especially where it deals with the justice of peace. And that justice of peace, according to that provision, it relates to the person conferred with such powers under section 334 of the Criminal Procedure Act. Have you read that provision?
No, I've not, my lord. The essence of what section 217, my lord, I know. It's only the judicial officials that can take the part in justice of the peace. Whom police officers, who are commissioned officers, falls under that category. Colonel Mboto is justice of the peace. He's a commissioned officer. He had a right, a legal right for that matter, my lord, to take the confession. He was legally qualified to do so.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of the provision, I'll just, because I have, my lord, a defense witness that will come and...
No, fine, we can argue that.
Yes,
Because you two are arguing about the law.
yes.
So you can prove it by whatever means. Okay, no problem.
And
As a court, please, we just want to point out that section 334 relates to the appointment of
334.
yes persons as peace officers, not
Just
as,
read it to us
not as justice.
so that we
of the
get
peace.
educated.
It's fairly long section.
No, read it. Say.
The headings: Minister may declare certain persons peace officers
Right.
for specific purposes. Subsection 1A, the minister may, by notice in the Gazette, declare that any person who, by virtue of his office, falls within any category defined in the notice, shall, within an area specified in the notice, be a peace officer for the purpose of exercising, with reference to any provisions of this Act, or any offense or any class of offenses, likewise specify the powers defined in the notice. Subsection B, the powers referred to in paragraph A may include any power which is not conferred upon a peace officer by this Act. And subsection 2A, no person who is a peace officer by virtue of a notice issued under subsection 1 shall exercise any power conferred upon him under that subsection unless he is at the time of exercising such power in possession of a certificate of appointment issued by his employer, which certificate shall be produced on demand. Subsection B, a power exercised contrary to the provisions of paragraph A shall have no legal force or effect. Then subsection 3, the minister may by notice in the government prescribe A, the conditions which shall be complied with before a certificate of appointment may validly be issued under subsection 2A. Subsection B, any matter which shall appear in or such certificate of appointment in addition to any matter which the employer may include in such certificate. Then lastly, subsection 4, where the employer of any person who becomes a peace officer under this provision of this section will be liable for damaging arising out of any act or omission by such person in the discharge of any power conferred upon him under this section. The state shall not be liable for such damages unless the state is the employer of that person, in which event the Department of State, including a provincial administration in whose service such person is, shall be so liable.
Okay. So, sorry, so the criteria is the appointment
Yes.
The appointment.
by the minister or the authorized
Yes.
person.
Yes.
I mean, just place it on record that Mboto produced, I don't know if you're there, he produced this certificate of appointment. And this evidence was basically that he showed his certificate, Mr. Mnisi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, to the accused, before whom he was about to take a confession, and explained to him that I'm a justice of the peace. Here is my certificate of appointment. That's the evidence. And at that stage, Ramapsi PD never brought that argument. But you can bring it at any time to say Mboto had no lawful authority to take the confession.
My Lord,
Then you can argue the matter. Okay, no
that's
problem.
correct. May I just place this on record?
Yeah.
When I came on board
Yeah,
on the evidence of Colonel Rappard,
yeah.
this is what I've advanced.
Yeah, that's
to the
fine. I'm
witness.
talking about Mboto.
And he talk about a certificate which he got from Ria Piecha,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
There's that evidence.
Yeah.
But what I want to place on record is that what incapacitated Section 1 of the Justices of the Commission and Commissioners of Oath Act. I forgot the act and the year in which it was promulgated. But Section 1 of the provision, it expressly states that the Justice Minister appoints a Justice of the Peace and issues a certificate after the appointment. The Justice, in terms of that, but in terms of Section 217, read with Section 334, this is the National Commissioner that appoints. You see the difference? In terms of Section 217, read with Section 334, Criminal Procedure Act, is the National Commissioner that appoints the Justice of the Peace. If I may remind the court about, sorry my lord, I used to...
Why don't you argue this thing? Because Mr. Brigadier Gininda has told you what he thinks he knows, what a commissioner of Justice of the Peace is. And you are educating him that, no, you're actually wrong. Then you can leave it for argument, because otherwise you are at university, all of you. I don't know what you're trying to prove. He says he knows that his Mbodlo was Justice of the Peace. Is that not so? And that he's authorized to take confessions.
Correct, my lord.
You say he's not a Justice of the Peace and he's not authorized to take confessions. You can argue that. And if you succeed, the so-called confession which is taken by Mbodlo will be rendered inadmissible. Okay, let's make progress, please.
Thank you, my lord. My lord, let me just continue. Thank you, my lord. I'll argue further.
Because it also depends which university were you at.
It doesn't mean, it doesn't relate to university.
No, I'm saying sometimes you were not at Oxford.
No, I'm coming from Vista University.
Oh, right.
So wait. Yes, that's why I graduated.
So ithi isikolo somthetho asiphume sigcile kulolu daba ekuthi ulibele ukubuza ngawo mmeli ukuze imibuzo.
That's why I am going to discredit both Colonel Mboto and Colonel Rapato from taking confessions for both accused persons, accused number 1 and number 2. But let's move on. I just wanted to place it on record. Now, on the 30th of May 2020, accused number 1 is arrested just after lunchtime or during lunchtime, 1 o'clock or after 12:30. According to his version, he's taken to a place near a municipality area in Tembisa where he alleged that he was assaulted. I'm not intending to go back, I just want to demonstrate something. Immediately after his arrest, he was taken to Fort Loras until he met you. When he met you, didn't have time to relax, didn't have time to think about his arrest, he didn't have time. His mental state at that time did not warrant for him to make a statement freely and voluntarily. Do you disagree with it? Because that confession was taken on the day in which he was arrested. Shortly after, he was maybe 4 to 5 hours difference.
Yeah. So, my lord, what I can say, obviously when he was arrested, I was not there. What I can testify about, and it's what I've said in my evidence in chief, when I spoke to him and gave him his right, when I met him for the first time, I did not see any signs of distress, someone who was in an uncomfortable position. I went even to an extent of asking the members who brought him to move away so that I can speak to him freely, voluntarily, and establish that he was not even under influence of alcohol or drugs. I did not detect such, and that version that he was assaulted was never told to me. Now that's the first part. Subsequent to that, my lord, we moved to the provincial office in Gauteng. He had time, he was not traveling with me in the car. It's about maybe 30 minutes or so from Fort Loras to that provincial office. He had time to think. And before I handed him over, when we arrived at the provincial office, to the members of I asked him, I warned him and asked him if he was still willing to proceed freely and voluntarily, and he was, my lord. So the version that he was, things were done in a short period of time, that's not correct. That's not the impression he gave me. I spoke to him, he was free, comfortable in making these assertions freely and voluntarily. I cannot talk to what happened in Tembisa, but he did not tell me that he was assaulted, my lord.
ngeyithethi ummangalelwa uma eqeda ukuboshwa uSibiya yena uye wathathwa wayisiwa eThembisa washawa futhi makazolethwa kuweke bekangazange athole ithuba lokuthi acabange akhululeke acabange nangokuthi sekaboshiwe uboshelwe ini kwenzakalani uthi ubrigadier ke mina uma efika kimi ngiye ngakhuluma naye futhi nalabo abamlethile ngabacela ukuthi baphume ukuze azokhululeka uma ngikhuluma naye ngiye ngambheka angibonanga izimpawu zokuthi lo muntu lo akakhululekanga angibonanga izimpawu zokuthi lo muntu lo mhlawumbe kunenye into emhluphayo emqondweni futhi angibonanga nezimpawu zokuthi wayekade eshayile naye uma ngikhuluma naye akazange angitshele ukuthi ushayile ngoba ukusuka ePhosphorus ukuyofika eprovincial office labe ngikhona kuthatha mhlawumbe isikhathi esingaba imizuzu engamashumi amathathu la ukuthi kuleso sikhathi sona isikhathi la ukuthi mhlawumbe wayekade engacabanga akhululeke bese azilungisa nokuthi uma ngifika lapha kwamele ngifike ngicebe nabantu into yokuqala ukuthi bafike bangishaya.
All right. About with reference to the diary that you recorded, can you please take a diary, you open the records of the 30th of May 2020 and please read them on record in relation to what you have recorded.
Duty on, that is 0730, Phosphorus case 636 of 1/2014, departure to Ereton, and then at 1410 got a report, from Captain Yende and Mukula that the suspect Moses Sibiya has been arrested for the case of drug dealing and possession of unlicensed ammunition. I went to interview the suspect at Phosphorus around 1900 hours. The suspect implicated himself in the case after he was warned according to his rights. Colonel Mboto, I've mentioned his cell phone number, is requested to assist with the confession. He agreed. Says suspect must be brought to Diproof SAPS 30 May 2020, and then I've recorded just after midnight, 10 past 12, my lord. Colonel Mboto says he is done, and that I should come get the confession from his office, then 0130 duty off.
Futhi uyafunda ke istatement eyena sibhale kwi-diary yakhe nge-30 sika May ukuthi kwenzakeleni uma ngisicaphula nje uthi ngalelo langa uye waziswa ukuthi usekaboshiwe umuzi Sibiya futhi kunezinto afuna ukuzikhuluma kulaye ukuthi naye uye wathatha inyathelo zokuthi ashayele uKolonel Mboto ucingo amtshela ukuthi uzocela ukuthi amsize ngomuntu ofuna ukukhuluma indaba ezithize bese ke ntambama kulaye ukuthi uKolonel Mboto uye wamtshela ukuthi sekaqedile ngalesa statement yena bese wabhala nokuthi washayisa ngobani isikhathi.
When you explained the rights, I beg your pardon, you explained the rights to accused number 1, and you told him about, I wouldn't say you told him about the requirements of section 217, but what relates to saying something freely and voluntarily, I assume this is what you told him. Was that recorded in your diary?
No, my lord. I've recorded that I've warned him according to his constitutional right. That is Section 35 of Act 108 of 1996. Insofar as the issues of him making the confession freely and voluntarily, the officer who is going to take the confession, for example, whether, like in this instance when I was talking to him, you have to satisfy yourself that this person is talking to you freely and voluntarily and without any undue influence. It's a requirement that you must meet, and that person is not under intoxication substance. Then you move on. So there's no, you can't tell that person to say, satisfy me that you are not, I must satisfy myself. Based on the question, his composure, the way he talks to me, the type, if I see injuries, obviously it's a sign that something is wrong. If I feel that he's crying or he's swollen somewhere, it shows that something is not right. So you must satisfy yourself that this person before you indeed is talking to you freely and voluntarily.
Indaba yamalungelo uyibhalile phansi kwidayari yakho njengokuthi uye wamchazisela amalungelo uthi lokho angikubhalanga kodwa ngibhalile ukuthi ngiye ngamchazisela ukuthi unelungelo unawonke amalungelo futhi mina ke kwamele mina nganeliseke ukuthi lo muntu engikhuluma naye ngempela uzimisela ukuthi akhulume engaphoqwanga futhi akusukuthi into ekwamele ibhalwe phansi leyo into ekwamele nawe uyibone ukuthi lo muntu lo nanoma ekhuluma nawe ekhululekile uma ingabe kunezimpawu zokuthi mhlawumbe uthusele uyathuka noma ubonakala kuumuntu engathi ufuna ukukhala noma kuumuntu oyikuthi ekade elimele bekwamele ngime bese ngiyabuza ke ukuthi kwenzakeleni noma kwenzakalani ngalendlela seyikuthi ubonakala uziphatha ngayo.
Brigadier Kininda, with due respect, sir, you are a person of interest under the case number, under the case number 636, and you were investigating the matter, and the information that you gathered from what you allege accused number 1 told you, there's no reason for you not to be biased by saying you told him this, and if accused number 1 say he did not say this, obviously you will insist because you are the lead investigator in this case. So I'll argue at a later stage that your evidence is rational and I would say you are biased in any way from that evidence. What is expected of you being the lead investigator in this matter was not to keep him with you. The second reason why I'm saying this, the accused number 1 and number 2, at all various places where the alleged offenses were, alleged confessions were taken, were transported by your, I would say, people who were investigating in the same case. For instance, Sergeant Mkhano. I submit with due respect that that investigating officer, Sergeant Mkhano, was not supposed to be neither closer to these accused persons when they took a confession. Am I wrong, sir?
Yeah, well, we are wrong when you say I'm a person of interest. We can start there because my understanding of the person of interest is something different. So you're totally wrong. I'm not.
Sorry, the person of interest is a suspect.
It's a suspect.
Sorry, so that we all understand what you're talking about.
May I correct myself with my poor English?
That's what it means.
No, but I want to correct it because I can see. You see, if every time say it might be mistakenly said, but if it is interpreted like either the witness or whoever intends to.
Okay, fine.
To make
but
fun of myself. But let me just withdraw that term or that word. It has been erroneously used.
Okay.
But no one must capitalize on that one. But if he says he is not of a person of interest, it's fine.
Okay.
You are the lead investigator and you have an interest in investigating this matter.
Yes, my lord, I agree. I'm the lead investigating officer. That is why I said, after realizing that both accused were obviously on different occasions were confessing, I adopted an approach of getting independent officers as part of the bad practice rule. That was the whole idea. That is why there's Colonel Mboto, and then later there's Lieutenant Colonel Rapad, and then Lieutenant Colonel Khatebe. That is the idea, my lord, because as the court has rightfully said, as a commissioned officer, I could have taken those confessions, but obviously because I've got knowledge, and as an investigating officer, when we are seized with the matter, is to prove that the crime was committed. So it will not be advisable that you do that because, you know, it's not the best practice way. But I adopted the approach that brings in people who are independent. That's what I've done.
Njengoba inkantolo bese seyishilo ukuthi benginayo imvume yokuthi mina ngingathatha lezo statement, kodwa ngoba ngingomunye wamaphoyisa aphenyayo noma iphoyisa eliphethe uphenyo lwalelicala, ingakho ngiye ngagcina sekuthi ngifuna abanye oza kwethu abekade bezosiza ukuthi bathathe lezo statement, ngoba mina akwamelanga ukuthi ngibe nendima engiyidlalayo kulezo statement, ngoba kuzosuka kube ingathi mina kunento engifuna ukuyenza, kodwa ingakho mina ngiyengafuna ukubona ukuthi ngenze isiqiniseko sokuthi utholakala abanye abantu ukuthi abaphenyi kuzelicala.
And also, my lord, when I said, because I want Mr. Mkumezulu to understand this part, when I was correcting the part of saying I'm not a person of interest, it's what I said yesterday. It is not meant, or day before yesterday, it's not meant as an insult. My understanding in that time, because we're in court, if I concede to that, I'm exactly creating that impression that I'm a person of interest. I'm saying it with greatest respect because for me, that's what it says. And I'm correcting it that that's not the case. It's not meant to undermine him, so you shouldn't take it in a bad way. It's how I understand it, and I feel it must just be corrected. It's just what it is, nothing more than that.
Uma ngithi mina anginayo indima engiyidlalayo kuleli cala, angisho ngokudelela kumnumzana uMngomezulu, ngisho ngokuthi ngibeke izinto zicace, akusukuthi angimhloniphi umnumzana uMngomezulu, angayithathi ngokuthi angimhloniphi ngese baba uMngomezulu.
Thank you, Brigadier Kininda. You're coming from far with you. Brigadier Kininda, there's one thing that I want to know before we proceed. Remember when you read an affidavit, I think at the beginning of this week, there's an affidavit that you read when you brought an application for J50. I'm not going to J50 per se. I'm saying, remember that affidavit?
Yes, I do remember.
I want to know that affidavit. There's something that bothers me in that affidavit about the family whom accused number 1 was posting. You remember?
Yes.
In KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes.
As a result, that led him to that investigation to follow up to his arrest. So my concern is that information came to you on the 23rd of October 2020 for the first time,
No.
or it's something that you got it before you made it an affidavit.
Excuse me, I didn't know you were still talking. No, I got it before I made the application, my lord. So the application, I was seized with that information, statements were in the docket, my lord, which we've disclosed as well.
Ngiyenze le affidavit le ebengiyifunda ngomsombuluko ngemva kokuthi bese sengithole ulwazi izinto lezo i-statement zikhona phakathi kwedokodo. Ile affidavit uyasho ubaba uMngomezulu ukuthi la umangalelo oqala yena wayekade eziqhenya ekhuluma nabanye abantu abathize bomndeni wakhe abase KZN.
So that those statements were obtained Was it before you took a confession or after you took a confession from accused number 1?
I know the one of Absalom Zungu, my lord, that I referred to, that clearly implicates accused 1 and 2 was taken before the confession was taken. I think it was taken the previous year. Confessions were taken in 2020. That statement, from my recollection, would have been in 2019, somewhere end of the year, November, December.
Statement sika Absolute Mzungu ngiyazikhumbula ukuthi sona sathathwa ngaphambi kokuthi abamangalelwa baye bayokunyuka ngoba leso statement sayenzwa ngiyacabanga unyaka ka-2019 uma soya emaphethelweni.
That means, in short, you had a prior knowledge prior to CBR talking to you or making such a statement to you in Phosphorus. You already had a knowledge about
Yes, I
such
knew.
allegations.
I knew there were allegations. There were person of interest, my lord. Council will remember I've explained this, that the reason we focus on them is because there was this statement, there was information, there was this statement that we had which identifies them as being part of the perpetrators who killed Senzo Meyiwa. We did a cold case analysis around them. So when they were approached on various cases, yes, we were fully aware that there's allegation that they were involved in this matter, in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa.
Yebo ngalesikhathi eza umangalelwa wokuqala bese sengazi ukuthi vele yena uyingxenye yalabantu ukuthi babulala uSenzo Meyiwa ngoba ithe uma kufika idocument kula ukuthi siye sabhekisisa abantu ukuthi kukhulunywa ngabo kulezi document kemayeza bese senalo lolo lwazi.
And if you remember very well, I'm not intending to take you back from where I started my cross-examination, but there are certain things that are really necessary that should be placed on record so that we all understand each other. You'll pardon me for that. But may I remind you that, remember when we spoke about Section 219 of the Criminal Procedure Act?
My lord, I was spoken to regarding Section 219. I didn't say it. I was asked to read Section 219, subsection 1, and then I think Mr. Ramsipil and then read Section 219. So that's how it came about.
Akusi mina ofundile lo mthethosisekelo owaka 219 ngafundelwa njengoba bengade ngibuzwa imibuzo akusi mina ovele waqala wakhuluma nawo.
One of the reasons for my argument for these confessions to be inadmissible, to be made inadmissible, relates to Section 219, in that just a general understanding to mean a person making a confession, that confession is only admissible against him, not against other people. Did you understand that section?
Yes,
the same way I understand it.
Yes, and I did say that, my lord. I did say my understanding of Section 219. It simply says the confession made by accused 1 is admissible insofar as is consent. You cannot say now it's admissible on accused 2, 3, and 4.
Well, actually, the law says the statement.
The statement, yes.
Yeah, it's a case of state versus Molini.
Correct, my lord.
Extracurrial statement for Chungwenya.
Correct, my lord.
Thank you, sir.
Uyazi ukuthi lo mthetho owaka 219 uthi uma umuntu esanda kugonyuluka lokho akukhulumile kuamele kusetshenziswe mayelana naye hayi abanye abantu. Uthi yebo ingalendlela enami ngichaze ngakhona ukuthi akusukuthi kwamele kusetshenziswe mayelana nalabo abanye ekuthi yena ukhuluma ngabo, kwamele kusetshenziswe kuye ukuthi uthi lezo zinto ziqondane naye hayi ukuthi ziqondane nalaba akhuluma ngabo.
And will I be right to say there is a supplementary affidavit or an additional affidavit that you have made other than the affidavit you used to bring the application for a J50? Is there any other affidavit that you have?
I've made numerous affidavits, just the litigating office on the docket, my lords. Others are changed, so it's not just one or two, it's various affidavits on the docket, which we've disclosed to the defense as well.
Uyavumelana nami na ukuthi ikhona enye affidavit ewuyenzile ngaphandle kwale ebokade uyifunda la emalangeni uthi yebo ngenze ama affidavit ambalwa kuleli cala?
Yes. With the leave of the court, my lord, I would request, it's not going to be a futile exercise.
Which exercise is that?
Because, no, I'm saying it's not going to be a futile exercise. I'm just asking the court's indulgence if a certain affidavit, but it does not contain the contents that were redacted.
You've got that affidavit.
To be read. It was made by a Brigadier Kiminda.
You have it in your possession.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't tell you how to defend your child. If you want to use it, use it. If the law allows you.
I'm asking the court if I can ask him to read it, ma'am. I want to ask Brigadier to read that affidavit.
Where's that affidavit, sir?
It's A227. I believe
What is exhibit what?
exhibit. It doesn't have an exhibit, ma'am.
It must have.
Because last time you said the witness can just read if the affidavit was made by him.
Now, because this witness says all the affidavits, he furnished you, or Mr. Baloyi furnished you with those affidavits. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, my lord. Absolutely.
That's what he's saying. You've
Yes,
got
that's what
all
I'm
the
saying.
affidavits.
That's correct, but I only request only that affidavit, not all. Only that
Okay,
affidavit.
no problem. Mr. Baloyi, what's your view about that affidavit you read?
If we have no problems with that, my lord. If they want to put it on record.
Okay.
Ummeli ucela ukuthi ubrigadier afunde ngayi affidavit yakhe, mshushisi uthi akunankinga angaqhubeka.
Is that the affidavit?
That's correct. Sorry.
Yeah, my lord. Yes, I can. It is A227.
A227.
My lord, I see it's 1 o'clock. I'm not sure if we can adjourn for lunch. We will continue after lunch.
Okay, should we adjourn, Mr. Nisi?
Yes, madam.